Oh, yeah. Well, I'll take this over hurricanes and alligators any day. At least the state isn't burning down. Oh, I tell you what, 20 below is a lot better than 100 above.
Yep.
You know, this cold, Amy, isn't so bad if the wind isn't blowing.
Yeah, you have to dress in layers.
You know what? I was just outside. It's colder than a witch's bosom in a brass brassiere.
That was really dumb.
Why can we not? Why can we not talk about weather? What is it about us?
You know
Amy,
what?
I hate these conversations, and I'm usually the one that starts them.
I do too. I was just thinking about this the other day. But if you're in line, maybe you don't have to, but if you're in line somewhere and you want to be friendly to the clerk, which I do because they have to put up with a lot of crap from all of us.
Yeah.
I just want to be, I mean, what else do you say? You have pretty eyes. I don't know how to start. You know, there's no other, like, I know, that's creepy, right?
You could say it. I could not.
I know. So it's just like, wow, I hope, stay warm.
Hey, Jim, you got pretty eyes.
I mean, yeah.
He's this old retired guy working at the counter. So, and here's to even make it worse and to make myself hate myself even more. If the person in line in front of me is having a weather conversation,
you get mad.
I, in my head, I'm trying to figure out, okay, they just said what I would have said. Now what am I going to say? And I go looking for weather things to talk about.
I get it. I do the same exact thing, and I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop. And actually, I'll say to myself, you know what, Amy, you could just leave. Just pay the girl and just walk out. And then I have like intrusive thoughts about the fact that now I have to start saying weather things. And I'm like, stop it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So, wow, it's really cold out there, isn't it? And they just, how many times a day do they hear that?
Oh, all day.
350.
Yeah, all day.
I know.
And you know what? Yeah, and it's year round, too. No matter what the weather is. And the one I'm really irritated at myself about is when it's sunny and beautiful. I'll say things like, just complete strangers standing at the gas pump. What a glorious day! Like I just got out of prison or something.
And have never seen the sun before?
Yeah. And I hear myself shouting this out, and inside I'm going, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do this?
And what do they do? Don't you wonder what they do in states where it never changed? Because I've lived in like Las Vegas and parts of California where it never changed.
Yeah.
So what is there? Maybe they don't small talk. Because you can't possibly, after 6 months of sun, go, wow, sunny day, huh? People would think you're insane.
The Crabby coffee shop was a creation of Royce and I getting sick of people like this. You would go into a shop and they'd say, oh, what a wonderful day. You have any plans for later today? Or what you're going to do this weekend? And that kind of thing made us so mad that we wanted to start a coffee shop where you come in, you don't say a word, you get your coffee, and you get out.
I didn't know that was the origin story.
Yeah. Royce's like the silent owner of Crabby Coffee Shop. He's money invested, but he has no input as to how it's run. So I was going to ask you, if we're running a Crabby Coffee Shop and somebody steps up to the counter and starts in about the weather, am I allowed to kick them out?
Well, it's your coffee shop, so of course you are.
For the day or forever?
Okay, here's where, whatever you want because you're the king of the coffee shop. But, like, what if somebody says, okay, I understand the weather stuff, but what if somebody comes in and goes, how are you? Because they really don't care, right?
I don't. I like giving them the truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as they answer depressed and slightly anxious.
Well, I've got a carbuncle that's about to burst.
Yeah,
something really awful and gross they'll never come into this shop and ask me that question again.
Okay. So
Something like
what
that.
is allowed? What is allowed in our coffee shop now?
Can I have a coffee, please, large?
Period.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? And I've recently thought we're not going to have Wi-Fi, so you can't sit here on your phone. But if there's no Wi-Fi, then we're going to go back to the days of yore, and we're going to have to talk to each other. And I think I like a silent coffee shop. So free Wi-Fi.
I think it's going to be silent because I honestly don't believe people know how to talk anymore.
Not anymore. Doesn't
Honestly,
seem like
when
it.
you get in I've thought about that so many times, haven't you? When I'm in a doctor's waiting room or whatever. You used to read whatever magazine, or maybe you chit chat or an elevator. Now it is silent, Kenny, because nobody's talking. They're all on their phone.
I make the mistake when I'm in the Twin Cities of saying good morning to complete strangers that I may pass on the sidewalk or in the building, and I get looks like, "Don't hurt me."
Right. Well,
they're just so shocked.
Yep.
And they don't know how to, and it's good morning is how they reply.
Like, why are you talking to me?
That might be the messenger.
I wasn't going to say it, but you're right, Kyle. I mean,
that
look at yourself.
I've been fighting that for years. They call it resting bitch face, but I think it's more like resting really pissed off face.
You have resting pissed off face, but
Yeah.
you also have sort of a biker beard.
Yeah.
And you've got whatever you said you did to your hair.
Yeah, guard number 4, just shave it.
You
takes
just
3
shaved
minutes.
that off.
Yeah.
And I mean, the beard's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
I let it go. I trim it once a year. So
Seriously?
in 6 months from now, it'll be down, here.
Okay.
And it turns into, I would let it go completely, but it's a nuisance to keep it going.
Okay.
Let
Let me
it's too
ask
much
you a question.
grooming.
Let me ask you a question because clearly I don't have a beard.
Well,
And thank God for
you have
that.
a mustache.
Thank you. But is it warmer? Seriously, in the winter, is that warmer?
A little bit, but not a lot.
Not a lot.
No.
And also, is it just I can't imagine shaving every single day.
That's why.
Is that why you keep it long?
Yeah. Shaving is just
a
so
pain?
stupid. Yeah. And because of all the fat rolls and chins I have, when you have
Whatever.
when you have like a 3-day shadow, it really looks horrible.
Right.
So all that hair is just covering up my gruesome face.
But back to the original point, if you were walking toward me
Yeah.
in a city
Yeah.
or the country,
Yeah.
and as I'm looking at you now, you said, and I didn't know you, hi, I'd be like, are you a robber?
Yeah. What's up, creeper?
Right.
Why are you talking to me?
I don't understand why this man with a giant beard is talking to me.
Most of the time when I'm walking down the sidewalk and I see people out in the distance coming my way, they cross the street and go to the other side.
You do look a little bit like a bike gang guy.
But all the kids that have worked at your station, My Talk, throughout the years have all been scared of me for no reason whatsoever. And it's just the fact that I look really, really angry in the hallway when I'm not. Inside my head, I'm da-da-da-da-da-da-da,
And I know you, and I've known you for a long time, so I know that the crusty, don't talk to me exterior is not a real thing. But when you just said, all these kids at My Talk are scared of me, I don't know why, Kyle and I looked at each other like, we do.
Yeah.
I completely understand it. Don't you, Kyle?
Yeah.
I mean, he brags about not talking to both of us for long stretches of time.
Right. And he doesn't. And then he lives in, I don't even know, don't even tell me because I don't care.
Right.
But you live in the middle of nowhere with no humans. So I know I don't understand why the 27-year-old clean-shaven, guy that doesn't ride a tractor all day is scared of you when you have a crabby face.
I'm sorry. This is the face that Jesus gave me.
But I know what's in your heart, though. I know what's in your heart because I know you. But
and sometimes when I don't
understand.
talk to people, it's because there's so many voices going on in my head right now that I can't. Or in the case of My Talk, I'm going down the hallway and I'm thinking about what I'm about to do and what I have to do and in what order. And I'm so focused in and zoned out on what's around me that I don't even see these people. But I will tell you this. Who is that kid that we had, the really energetic kid that was running Lori and Julia at the end?
Oh, Grant.
So I would occasionally show up down there in the last few years, and Grant had a job, an office, a desk where he could see people coming down the hall.
Yeah.
And he would shout out my name, Kenny! And then I'd have to talk to LoJ. I'd have to talk to Lori and Julia.
Trapped.
So when I got in the habit, and Grant was so awesome, he understood. He would see me coming down the hall, and I'd go, shh, 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 shh. And he'd just wave at me, and I'd wave back, and I'd sneak by, and I wouldn't have to talk to LoJ.
The cone of silence. And when he says LoJ, he means Lori and Julia, long time My Talk hosts.
Yeah.
I can understand. Oh, Kenny, shut up.
Yeah, that's Lori. And then Julia's, oh, honey, sweetheart,
Sweetie,
how
Trixie,
you doing?
pumpkin.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, God, just get me out of here.
I know. Yeah, I don't know why we do all this stuff, but I do think that a lot of this weather conversation, I made a promise when I came back to Minnesota. I made a promise that I would never complain about the weather. So I also don't have any other small talk. So that's why I bring it up.
As for me, I used to love winter, and something's happened in the last 5 years, and now I hate it. I just can't stand it.
Maybe it's your advanced age.
Okay, you bastard.
All right. What are we doing next?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break, but I have a lot of really, really personal questions for you. So brace yourself. We'll be right back. So I know your name. I don't think it's a real name, though. You have 2 first names, Amy Daniels. And I thought I knew you because I've worked with you for years, but as it turns out, I have no idea who the hell you are.
Yes, you
and
do.
how you got here. We met in, I'm going to guess, 2004 or 5.
4.
Worked closely, or next to each other in separate studios, got to know each other. And I knew that you worked, my extent of your radio background is you worked for that Weasel program director that Howard Stern had, Rat Juice.
Pig Vomit.
Pig Vomit. You worked for him.
His name was Kevin Matheny.
Yeah, and he at one point, and we could do 3 hours on bad program directors, he at one point, I believe, told you to be more like
Elaine
on
from Seinfeld.
That's probably the worst advice I've ever heard anybody give or kid.
It's impossible.
No, yeah.
I remember leaving that meeting and just being like, just for those who don't know, if you're doing a radio show, a TV sitcom, which he was referring to, Seinfeld, is 22 minutes long.
Right.
And it's written ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like Julia Louis-Dreyfus didn't just make things up.
No, she was playing a character.
So it was really hard for me to figure out how he was going to do a radio show and somehow channel a character on a sitcom.
Call Larry David. Maybe he could write all of your lines
exactly.
for you.
And frankly, my career's not that fascinating.
Well, it is to me because I'm a radio geek and there's a lot of media nerds listening. And the other thing I knew about you is you did a morning show with Chris Schaefer, who's now a weather guy on TV. What I don't know is what in the world in your young life led you to Brown Institute, the radio school?
You know what? Here's a sad story about me, but true. I think I mentioned it last week when we had Chris Eggert from Channel 5 on. I loved radio from such a young age. Like listened to radio obsessively. Yeah. And when I was probably sophomore, freshman, senior, I would literally stay home and listen to radio. Not watch TV, listen to radio while I put together jigsaw puzzles on Friday and Saturday nights.
Well, that explains a lot.
Yeah. But I just remember thinking, whatever this is, I want to do that.
Okay.
I loved it. And there weren't many women at the time because I'm old enough to remember there was a woman named Mesa Kincaid.
Yeah.
And there was one other whose name I'm forgetting. But there weren't women. That's it. There were 2 women in town at the time that were on the radio.
In the late 70s, there was a morning show on KDWB, Chris Edmonds and Pam somebody. The show was called Morning Sickness. Yeah. And I thought she was a good woman.
Was it Pam Lewis?
Maybe?
Might have been. Or Pam Reed. Pam Lewis, I think. Anywho. So then when I left my parents' house, I had to live on my own for a year or 2 so I could get a student loan. So then I went to Brown Institute, which used to be on Lake Street here in Minneapolis. Then it moved out to somewhere, and now it's gone. But that's all I ever wanted to do, is be on radio.
And you believed, anybody who's gone through that radio school knows the name Mike Cronforce. And Mike, at your interview to get into the school, would tell you, well, you're going to have to move to Kansas and Bemidji and Alaska and some town in Texas, and you believe that, and you did that.
I did. Well, you were smarter. You stayed in town here. You refused to move, and you went and found a station that would give you, a job, which is amazing. You went to KSTP right from the beginning, right?
I wanted to be, when I realized that it was too much work to be in a band to get famous, because you have to work with band members,
have to work,
and
yeah.
I can't be around a lot of people. I thought, I want to be Wally Walker. And Wally Walker at the time was an afternoon disc jockey at KQRS.
Yeah.
And so when I got into radio school, I started listening to KQ all day, every day, and I realized they played the same Who song 3 times between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., and I realized, nope. And that's when I discovered AM 1500, and at the time was a real renegade station with a bunch of losers and ne'er-do-wells doing absolutely insane things. Don Vogel, one of my first memories of him was he called himself Dr. Don, and there was a guy on the air at KDWB and that called himself Dr. Don, I think. Vogel called the hotline live on the air and grilled the guy, and which was, you're not supposed to do that.
No.
And that got me hooked. And then I discovered Steve and Gary in Chicago and Don.
Talk radio.
Yeah, talk radio. And I realized I'm going to work for 1500. And
Right.
that's what I did.
I ended up obviously in talk radio on my Talk 107.1, but it never occurred to me, and that was really, really smart of you. We want to talk a little bit too, Kenny, don't we, about like kind of what we want to do now that you're relaunching Crabby Coffee Shop?
I think we might have a plan, and you're better at this than I am. Explain this whole concept of picking a lane and staying in it, because I'm all over the map when it comes to a show.
Well, I think what you and I wanted to get to was, what do we both feel passionate about? And I think what we both feel passionate about is what makes people tick.
Yeah.
Why do people do the things they do?
Yeah.
Why is the world so crazy and silly and ridiculous?
Yeah.
And so we're going to, be tipping our toes into, and it's not going to be like sort of freaky weird. It's like normal weird, right?
Right.
We want to discover why people, there's stuff on Reddit, if anybody's familiar, that they do things like, am I the asshole? Or, am I overreacting? Things where we all see behavior from other humans, and we go like, what are you doing?
And that was the inspiration for last week's show about Lego, not
Right.
Legos,
It's Lego.
and why we talked about it, because that blows me away, and I still don't understand grown adults playing with Lego. I don't mind it. Doesn't upset me. Not mad.
Just
doesn't
want to
hurt me in any
understand,
way.
right?
I'm just trying to understand, and I think
Just saw a picture on social media, and I won't remember who it was, but it was a celebrity and their daughter separately, an adult celebrity, and their daughter, who's looked like a teen, putting together Lego sets.
but not together.
No, well, next to each other, but not the same.
Yeah. And so we talked to Chris about that a little bit, but this could easily be a reoccurring question for every single guest we have. And before that show, do you see what's over my shoulder? Before that show, before we had even mentioned Lego on the air, in my mailbox, look at this.
How did that get to you?
I have no idea.
Honestly, how did that get to you?
It was in the mail, and it's a
All
whole
the Legos.
catalog of Lego.
Well, Lego's really smart because now, and that's why it's become this huge trend. Kenny and I have a big boss, the high top boss, Dan, who gave his daughters, who are, I think I mentioned that last time, who are in their 20s, each a Lego set for Christmas, but they're going after adults.
Yeah.
Because they have a retro radio out now. They've got the old manual typewriter set out
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
They've got the coolest collection of different things that attract adults. So we're fascinated with adults that like Legos. And we just found out
Yeah.
that
We
one
got
of
to
the
get
one of the Minnesota Wild players, what's his name? Jared?
Jared Spurgeon.
He's
his
the captain, right?
Yeah, yep. And he's out right now because he got injured a few weeks ago. But
Right,
yeah,
right, I knew that. His wife,
Danielle.
from what I understand, she's the one that says it's not Legos. Apparently, it's Lego. She's
Yeah.
a Lego freak, and
Yeah.
she has sets all put together behind glass in a room in her house. That's what I'm hearing. That's a rumor.
She has a Lego room.
A Lego room behind glass, so the kids can't get to it. Isn't that amazing? So we'll try and get her on.
That is both ridiculous and awesome at the same time. I love that.
So our goal is to try and just create a place that A is light. We're not going to be talking about politics or super serious tragic things. Just a place where we can talk about how weird people are.
And if we do succeed in getting Danielle on, let's not bring up Jared at all. Even though I would love to talk hockey for the whole interview, let's not bring up Jared at all till maybe the very end. Say, good luck to your husband, Jared.
Right. We understand he's got a job that's important somewhere.
And keeping with the Lego theme, we've got to get a hold in Kyle. It turns out Kyle's buddies with Jamie Yukas, who's in Los Angeles working for CBS. So we're going to try to get her. We want to talk to Ken Barlow. I would love to talk to Amy Hockert. She's at CCO, but she does Twitter really well. She's really, really good at social media. And we've got a long list of media people that we want to talk to about things other than media, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people. I would love at some point to get Amelia Santinello on.
Oh,
She's
yes,
so much fun.
Yeah.
Jason Matheson from My Talk, who does Channel 9 and My Talk.
Yep.
So, we just want to talk about things that make us happy and make us wonder why the world is the way it is, but it's just fascinating to me why people do the things they do.
And I'd love to talk to radio people too, but it's going to be really hard for me to control myself and not geek out and not be super inside radio, talking about queuing up a record, an album, you know what I mean? That really geek stuff. But we'll get through it. But there's another topic I'd like to talk about today, but I think we probably should take a short break and come back with that. Okay, we'll be right back. You ever get the feeling you should be doing something other than what you're doing? Did you have any other ideas for a career when you were young and you took the radio path instead? You know what I mean, Amy?
For 5 seconds, I thought I wanted to be an attorney.
Yeah.
And I studied for the LSAT and then decided I didn't because ADHD.
You actually did study, though.
Well, when I say study, I mean my kind of studying, which was read the book to prep. I wasn't going to be an attorney. And no attorney I talked to said they were having fun. So I went into radio, and I've honestly never wanted to do anything else.
The one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to be a heavy equipment operator. I wanted to build roads or work on, job sites, clearing land, building things, running all of the heavy equipment. And when I approached people in my teens, they all laughed at me.
Why?
Because I was the teenage version of what I am now, a complete goof off. And the only place I got a job was working for a farmer driving tractor and stuff. And that was fine. But it wasn't driving a bulldozer, what I really wanted to do.
There was a story out of Scotland that I think I saw it, and I want to get your take on it. I think I know what your take is.
Okay.
This sounds like the perfect job for you. Tell me when I describe it whether it is, and I would not enjoy it. It is a remote, this is real, a remote Scottish island with no residents is seeking a manager with accommodation provided and a salary of $31,000 a year.
Well, that's not much. What do I have to do? What's the manager?
Okay, here's what you do. It's located off the west coast of Sutherland, Ireland.
Yeah.
It has dramatic cliff views. The accommodation of the role is provided for the length of the contract, so that means they'll give you somewhere to live.
All right.
And what you have to do is manage this island that is like a safe spot, an uninhabited island. It's like a wild game reserve.
Oh, right.
And
I
so
bet
there's
for
birds.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
there's birds, and you
yeah.
just have to keep the island, the way the birds want it. But here's the thing, though. I actually think this is the perfect job for you. It's a remote island, weekly trips to the mainland once a week.
All right.
For laundry, banking, shopping. Okay.
Okay.
Here's the problem. Doesn't this sound like the perfect job for you?
Yeah, so far, I'm loving it. I'm trying to find a drawback.
Okay, here's where it goes a little sideways. The successful applicant will be responsible for organizing work programs and a team of volunteers.
Oh.
And will be in charge of looking after the wildlife and the 8,000 annual visitors.
Okay, one question. Do I have a 3/4 ton crew cab Chevy or Ford or Dodge pickup?
Not what, Kenny, it doesn't say, but
Because
why
if-
would you?
Because
It's a
everybody
remote
knows.
island. How would you get it there?
Well, that's
How would
not
you
my
get gas
problem.
in it?
That's not my problem. But
Well,
here's the
kind of
deal.
is.
From my road construction dream, I know that there's always a guy that all he does is sit in his truck and watch others work. And from time to time, he rolls his window down a crack,
Okay.
brings a guy over, issues some instructions, and then he gets on his phone and he rolls the window back up.
Okay, that's
So if I'm gonna manage a
that's an
crew-
adorable fantasy. But A, you don't have a crew. You have volunteers. B, you have 8,000 visitors and birds. And I'm pretty sure you don't have a truck. This sounds like, but other than that, other than when I got to the 8,000 visitors, for you, this seems like sort of where you are now, but with better scenery.
Yeah, and is that more contact? Because these volunteers are just dumb as mud, right? Right. So you're going to have to explain everything all over every day. You're going to be like a flight attendant at the front of the plane giving the instructions
Well,
on
they're
where they.
tourists. Yeah. They're tourists that
Yeah.
came to see birds.
Yeah, if there were no tourists, this would be my job.
This would be great. If you could have the island with the birds
Right.
that no one ever visited,
Right.
that would be perfect.
My other dream job, and I looked it up while it sparked something here. I've always wanted to be a fire lookout guy. So you climb the 200 steps to the tower, and then you sit there in that little room all summer, looking over the forest, just watching for smoke.
Is that a real thing?
Not only is it a real thing, but listen to this. I found in ZipRecruiter in Minnesota, that job pays $74,000 a year.
What?
Yeah.
Where would you be?
Northern Minnesota, where there's these fire lookout towers.
How many of them are there?
I don't know.
Hundreds, thousands?
In Washington State, it's $86,000 a year.
The money is 86,000
To sit in there
Do they
and
do
watch-
anything else? Do they
Well-
sort things? Do they count things?
Well, I was thinking
That's
about
amazing.
that, and I was thinking, a guy could go up there with a bong and just sit there
Okay.
every day, just hitting the bong.
Just high out of your mind looking
Yeah.
out for smoke.
So I Googled this, and you're big on Reddit, aren't you?
Yeah,
You like
well,
Reddit.
some things about
I
it. Yeah.
found this letter on Reddit, fire lookout jobs. Hey guys, I recently stumbled across these jobs for fire lookouts, and I got extremely intrigued. The idea of being by myself on a mountaintop for the entire summer, watching for fires that ravage the region. I'm in. It sounds like it would be an amazing way to spend the summer. I was curious about this. I have zero experience. That's me. And the big issue I'm willing to work through is I don't really drink. Instead, I smoke weed. And so he got a bunch of answers, and the people who all answered him were, you do realize this is the federal government, right?
Right. And kind of an important job looking for fires.
Yeah, and it's more than just sitting there hitting the bong looking for smoke
Well,
on the horizon.
And I hate to crush your mellow, but there's got to be a better way to do this. I mean, with drones and stuff, really, they're going to pay some doobie guy to sit in a really high tower and look for smoke. That doesn't seem efficient.
Yeah. Sitting up there with your legs,
Some
that
pothead.
crisscross thing that you do with your legs that I haven't been able to do for 40 years.
I'm pretty sure drones are going to take that job in a half second. We don't need some doobie head up there.
This dumbbell has the balls to ask, is it okay if I bring my weed?
Well, and now when the federal government interviews him, do you think they're not going to find that on Reddit?
Right. That's the other thing. They
You're
know everything
automatically
about
out.
you. Yeah. So are you the guy that, yeah.
You know, I'm one of those people. I have a fantasy that I want to be in the middle of nowhere. And actually, before I bought my house, I looked around in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I realized that there are just things I can't live without. Like, I need to be within 30 minutes of a decent restaurant. I need to be, close to Target. I need a grocery store.
For me, those are 20 miles away. My Target, my Walmart,
Okay.
Fleet Farm, it's 20 minutes away. I can go 5 days without going to town, as they say. Could you do that? Could you hole up on your property if your property was a house in the woods?
You know what? I'm a weird mixed bag. I'm an introvert. I like being alone, and I can easily do it for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But I also get bored with myself and bored with surroundings. So I would want to, I think 5 days I could probably do.
Yeah.
But I realized when I was touring all these different places I might buy a house, I ended up in Stillwater, so I'm 30 minutes away. And my house is a little isolated.
Yeah.
But I'm close enough to restaurants and blow dryers and,
I'll be honest with you. That's been one of the big eye openers being up here is there's no pizza delivery. And I really, really miss that.
Yeah.
The Chinese food is not cheap and crappy enough. I don't know if you, I like my Chinese takeout to come in white boxes.
Absolutely.
Served to me by very crabby Chinese people.
Absolutely.
That I might end up getting yelled at in the lobby. And that's how I know it's a good Chinese place.
And I want chunks of celery.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Chunks of
And
celery.
when you open up your chicken chow mein and your pork fried rice, you have to go, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And even though I don't smoke anymore, at the time when I moved up here, I was smoking. There's no good cigar shops. But I got over that.
Where's gas? What's the closest gas station?
3 miles.
Oh, that's not so bad.
So the small town I'm from is just 3-4 miles away. That's no big deal. But the big town with all the stuff is 20 miles away. Alexandria.
Here's the other thing. How is Wi-Fi?
Well, I have. It's really, really good, actually.
Okay.
I have. What is this that I have? It's.
I don't know.
It's
good,
actually quicker and better than what I had in South Minneapolis.
Yeah, because I think the thing is for me that I wish I could say something else, but I cannot live without a TV. In my my upstairs of my house, I have 3 flat screen TVs.
Yeah.
And I need them. Period.
Yeah.
Because when I'm old, and we'll talk about this someday, when I'm old, I'm going to eat boxes of dots. I'm going to sit on the couch.
You need toothpicks.
I'm going to watch TV.
Fiber optic. That's what I have. And the company that provides it is trying to get ahead of the government mandate. So they ran fiber optic down all the gravel roads a couple of years ago. Yeah. So it's quicker and better here than it was in South Minneapolis.
Yeah. I have fantasies that I want to live outside civilization, but reality is that I need civilization more than you do, clearly.
Yeah.
How long could you stay there and never? If you didn't need gas or food or groceries or something, how long could you stay there?
Indefinitely.
Like a year?
Easily.
With never leaving.
Yeah. And to me, it's not isolated enough. I mean, I can see people going by on the gravel road. That drives me crazy. I want a 3-mile driveway where it's really hard to get to the house in winter.
You could get snipers.
Yeah.
You could just get them out of there.
Yeah.
If they're not on the weed.
Yeah, right.
I want a situation where for the winter months, I actually have to use a snowmobile to get into town because I'm inaccessible by vehicle. That would be my dream.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Scotland, you could go and have this job.
I like it. I don't mind the 31,000. I love the birds. The once a week to civilization is good. It's the other people. I don't want these dumbbells trouncing around on my island.
Yeah, I get that. I'm a little I'm confused. It says it's a 6-month contract, salary 31 grand. So I don't know if that's 62 for the year, but it says they're a passionate employer and they have equal opportunities for all, as long as you can put up with 8,000 tourists.
Yeah.
I guess.
Can I bring my guns?
I think not.
What about my fireworks?
It's a preserve. It's a preserve.
I like shooting off bottle rockets.
It's a preserve.
I like having Roman candle fights.
They're trying to keep
Can I
the
shoot the Roman candles at the birds?
alive. All right. I think this sounds like the perfect job for you, Kenny. You would love it.
I'm willing to give it a go. Yeah, why not?
We could get rid of you.
That'd be fine with me. I'm always willing to get fired.
Option B.
He can phone in from the place.
Exactly. Yeah, if you can get in touch with us from where you are, you can certainly do that from Scotland. So great show, Kenny. It's really fun to hang out.
Yeah, that was all right.
And next time, will you tackle some marriage issues that I have to propose to you?
My next life, I will be a marriage counselor. So yeah, please.
Okay, we'll do that next time.
Okay, so let's I have a great idea. Let's help the listeners, the viewers of the Crabby Coffee Shop out. If you're about to get married, or if you're 5 years into a marriage and you think you might have some issues, I want to hear about them because I've been married for 80 years and I can help you out. Send those comments, those questions to K. Olson at garagelogic.com. Amy, we're going to help some people out. This will be perfect.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be super helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're an expert at nothing else, you're an expert in relationships.
80 years strong, Amy. 80 years. Right. We'll see you next week. Thank you.